We'll present a couple minutes.
Can you hear me, by the way?
Hey guys, we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes for more people to come in, and then we'll start the presentation. Hi guys, so for those of you coming in, we're gonna be starting in 5 minutes so more people can come in to our presentation. Thanks for being patient, guys. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys can hear me. If you guys can hear me, let me know in the chat because if you guys can't hear me, that'd be pretty bad. Oh, somebody said hi. So you guys can hear me. That's good. Okay, so let's start the presentation. So today we're going to talk about Purdue University. So I'm Arsh, and my buddy here is Yuraj. He's a good friend of mine, and we're going to be giving a good presentation on
Nice to meet
Purdue.
you.
So Yuraj, if you want to introduce yourself, you can do that right now.
Yeah, so I'm Raj Gill. I'm gonna be a sophomore here at Purdue University. I just got on my first year.
So I assume Yuvraj just gave his spiel. So for me, I'm a computer science student at Purdue, and I just finished my first year, and I'm currently working as an intern at a financial company. I'm a quant intern, which means I deal with financial models and statistics and stuff like that. But that's not the main focus of this presentation. So let's get started. So firstly, about Purdue. So what exactly is Purdue? So it's a land-grant university, which means the government gave land to somebody to start the university and make it. And it was founded in 1869. And Purdue has a long-standing reputation for excellence in STEM fields. So particularly like engineering, agriculture, technology, and computer science, which is what I'm in. And Yuvraj is in engineering. So we're quite a large school. Actually, we have over 30,000 undergraduates. And including graduates, it's maybe 15,000 more. So it's a lot of students on campus. And we're the second largest university in Indiana, obviously after IU. And I hope you guys can see this, but right here, this is the bronze statue. That right there is the founder of Purdue. His name is John Purdue. He was a very famous industrialist, which is why he had all that money to found our school. And right next to him, the scary mascot is actually our mascot. So that's Purdue Pete. We'll see him at football games, and he's really a joy to see. He's pretty cool. So some statistics. We're in the Big Ten Conference, so that includes all the big schools like Michigan, Rutgers, Indiana, MSU, Ohio State. So that makes for a lot of fun games. We have 18 intercollegiate sports teams, so mainly that's football, basketball, volleyball, all those type of things. There's a lot of fun games you can go to. And we have over 135 countries represented on campus. So suffice to say, when I was walking through Purdue, it was like walking through New York because it was so diverse. And there's some people speaking so many languages. And we're a top 10 public university in the US. And we have a large endowment of $3.6 billion. And the important thing is that we're one of the top public schools, which means it's a little bit cheaper, and the quality of education is very good. So these are some words that define our school, the relentless drive that propels us. So we're number 3 for U.S. universities for producing university-created innovations. So our school has a lot of patents. So if you want to, say, do some research or work somewhere, that probably will be very hard at Purdue because we have so many professors and so many graduate students. We had the number 4 graduate engineering program. So I remember you guys saying that a lot of you were interested in STEM, computer science, and things like that. Purdue is probably one of the best schools for that. I'd probably say one of the best bang for your buck when it comes to education. We also have the top 10 undergraduate engineering program. So this kind of fulfills a lot of fields. So mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, all those type of things. The School of Computer Science is actually in the College of Science, so not the same thing, but obviously very highly ranked. And we're number 6 in the world for utility patents. So what we're doing is actually very useful, and to find research would actually not be very hard. And I think if you guys come here, you actually definitely do that. So now what you guys are all interested in is academics, so rankings and majors. So Purdue has over 200 majors across 10 academic colleges and schools. And the most popular majors include engineering, business, computer science, agriculture, and biology. And for all of those, we're ranked very highly. So I'd probably say top 15 in the nation. So our highest ranked programs include engineering, which is top 5. I think it's number 2 in the nation, undergraduate. Agriculture, also top 5. I think it's number 1. Pharmacy, top 5. Veterinary medicine, top 5. And business accounting, also top 25. And our computer science program is actually top 20. I think it's number 16 right now, but it's going to jump soon. So in terms of how much we spend on our education, it's over 400 million per year, and I think it's set to increase now that we have these new initiatives that we're talking about. So we have major research centers that focus on cancer, sustainability, nanotechnology, AI, and newly semiconductors, which are very important. So one of the important buildings on campus is Lawson Hall. So that's actually where the computer science building is. I mean, it is the computer science building, and that was finished in 2006, and it's actually quite new, relatively speaking, for computer science buildings. So I'm going to talk about student life. So you can't always be studying when you're on campus. You need to have fun. So West Lafayette campus spreads over 2,300 acres, which is a lot. We have additional regional campuses in Indiana, so like near Chicago and in Indianapolis, so near a lot of major cities. And we have over 400 student organizations, so you'll probably find something that you want to do. So that includes intramural sports, performing arts groups, volunteer programs, and more. And we have 12 men's and women's athletic teams that compete in the Big Ten Conference. So if you're an athlete, you'll find it probably very rewarding to be a student athlete here. And on-campus housing available for over 12,000 students. So we have a lot of dorm space for, frankly, a lot of students that we do have. And you'll probably find some good housing here. And we also have highly rated dining options. So very healthy food. That's probably what I mentioned. And over here, you guys can see the top photo. That's actually the Association of Computing Machinery, specifically the SIGBOTS group. So I was part of that, and we basically were coding robots, essentially, to win competitions. And we went against a lot of different schools. And on the bottom, we had Purdue intramural volleyball. So you can get with a group of friends, make your own team, and play volleyball. And that's it's really fun. So moving on to something else very important, research. So research is something that I was part of in my first year. So we're talking about like the founding, the majors, and reputation. So first we're going to talk about the data mine, which is what I was part of. So the data mine is a flagship research center that provides access to high-performing computing, data analysis, and visualization. So students can work with massive data sets for data-driven research projects. So essentially data, we were talking about like using things like R, SQL, Python for data visualization and analysis. That was the application component of it. And then we also got to work with companies. And that's where the massive data set comes in. So with that, I was able to gain like a lot of knowledge essentially and get my current job as a quantitative developer. We also have centers for brain research, cancer technology, sustainability, nanotechnology, semiconductors, and a new AI center. So undergraduates can opt to participate in these things. All you have to do is email professor. They actually have a page listing all the different types of research that professors are doing. And essentially you send like a Google form. They interview you. It won't be too hard. And then they pair you with a graduate student that's doing their own thesis. There's also specialized research programs for undergraduates, including the Discovery Park Undergraduate Research Internship, the DURI, and the Purdue University Research Foundation, which is the research internship program. And the benefit is that these programs, we actually have a section on our campus where we have a lot of companies actually. So Merck, Rolls-Royce, companies like those, they actually have a physical presence on our campus, and you can work with people that work at that company, which gives you good industry experience. And the qualifications to get that are not too high, so it's good for undergraduates. So now I'm going to talk about something that's very important to me, since I'm a computer science student, is the Purdue Computes Initiative for computer science. So what exactly is it? So Purdue Computes is a major new investment announced in 2022 to advance computing research and education at Purdue across 3 main areas. That's computer science, physical AI, and semiconductors. So if you guys haven't heard of semiconductors, it's basically what powers our world, what powers our chips, what powers our technology. And it's very important that the US builds its own semiconductor abilities and not be reliant on other countries, which is why Purdue going after this is very important and very lucrative. So essentially for computer science, the goal is to propel the CS department into the top 10 nationally. So that's going to happen in about 4 years, they said. And that includes hiring 50 new faculty and increasing enrollment in the CS program. And CS will also have joint affiliations with the College of Science and Engineering. So College of Engineering focuses more on the hardware, which is also very important for CS majors to learn. And most interestingly, actually, is that a new Institute of Physical AI called the IPAI will be launched to focus on AI research at the intersection of the virtual and physical world. So essentially, we'll be hiring 50 new faculty for this and 250 new PhD students for this. So that's a very good benefit for Purdue. And in terms of how much we're spending, 100 million is planned for new semiconductor facilities, and 49 million is approved for the Burke National Technology Center. So obviously, this doesn't include how much we're getting by the government, since the work that we're doing is very important, and we'll be receiving a lot of federal grants too. Continuing on with that, so the initiative leverages its strength in agricultural engineering and technology to advance real-world impact. So we're not just going to be doing theory; we're going to be doing practical applications, which will have benefit on the area around us, which is the Midwest and the Northeast and areas like that. And Purdue Computer was announced by our new dean, our new president, Meng Chiang, and it was with strong support from the board of trustees. And hopefully with this, you can become a global leader in semiconductors and AI. So I know something that you guys are very interested in is the Purdue CS ranking. So nationally recognized, it's known as a very good, very strong program. In 2023, we're ranked as number 16 in the nation for undergraduate. Our graduate rankings were number 20, which puts us on par with schools like UCSD, UW-Madison, UT Austin, schools like that. And Purdue is particularly known for its programming languages, security systems, and software engineering. So software engineering, as you guys know, is probably like the most lucrative part about computer science and is what most of us want to do. So if you want a good software engineering education, go to Purdue. And areas like AI are rapidly expanding. So undergraduate AI, I think it was number 20 in the nation. And with this new initiative, it should be in the top 10 soon. Moving on from that to more related fields. So Purdue also has the number 1 ranked graduate program for computer engineering, which is it's adjacent to computer science. So that focuses more on hardware and low-level programming, which is also very important. And with continued investment like Purdue Computes and hiring of top faculty, the goal is that Purdue CS will rank the top 10, at least within 4 to 5 years of the time that I leave. And prospective students, I think you guys will reap the benefits because by the time you graduate, you'll have been able to do with more experienced faculty, and then the value of your degree will also be more because people have a higher expectation of it. So who exactly is Meng? So Dr. Meng Chiang serves as the president of Purdue University since July 2022, and he previously was the John A. Edwardson Dean of the College of Engineering at Purdue. So he's quite a famous guy. He's an internally renowned expert in communication technologies and networking science. And he founded and directs Purdue's DataMine, a research center focused on data-driven discovery and education, and also essentially a program that gives undergraduates experience. And prior to joining Purdue, he's a professor of electrical engineering at Princeton University from 2009 to 2012, and he received his PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford. He also received his bachelor's and his master's from Stanford. So Dr. Chiang has also founded multiple successful startups and serves as technology advisory boards on various companies. So he's close ties with major technology leaders, and he has great experience with technology and engineering, which is a benefit to engineers and computer science majors, which I assume many of you are trying to be. He's also an award-winning teacher and pioneering researcher with over 300 published patents and 300 published papers and 22 U.S. patents granted or pending. And he is also awarded the Friedrich Wilhelm Bessel Research Award in 2016. And he's recognized as an innovative leader, and he has helped raise over 140 million in donations for Purdue and increased our women in STEM enrollment. So you see these two images. The one at the top was actually a meeting with the G7, not the leaders per se, but people who represented those countries. So Meng was coming on behalf of America to increase semiconductor investments and technology sharing, essentially. So he's doing a lot of really important work. And on the bottom for our Indians, he actually met with people from India to also work with semiconductors. So, kind of getting a reliance off of countries like Taiwan and building unilateral relations amongst very important countries like India and the US. So now we're going to talk about some of Purdue's other majors, which are more application-based and less theory, like computer science. So what are these more focused, more applied, less theory majors? So the Purdue Polytechnic Institute focuses on STEM majors that emphasize practical, project-based learning and have direct connections to industry leaders. So majors include things like aviation and aeronautics technology, so aviation maintenance, repair, manufacturing, operations. Engineering technology focuses on things like practical engineering, skills like product design, manufacturing, quality control. Computer and information technology focuses on things like cybersecurity, IT project management, and application development. So UI, UX, essentially. They also have a technology leadership program and applied sciences. So essentially, even if you don't get into one of the theory-based majors like computer science or electrical engineering, if you get into Polytechnic Institute, you'll likely learn a lot of practical, real-world knowledge and allow you to get a very good job in the future. So my friend Yuvraj right here, he's actually an AET major. So that's more of a applied major. So I think if you could talk about what he did and why it's so useful to be more applied and less theory-based.
Yeah, so I chose to major in aeronautical engineering technology, but we just say AET because it's way quicker to say. And in this major, like Arshad, I learned about the design, the operation, and the maintenance of anything aviation-related equipment. So this can include aircraft and airspace vehicles. So it can be airplanes, it can be rockets, it can be jets. And basically, we learn how to design them to make them the most efficient, how to fix them, and just overall how to work at them. And jobs like this, majors like this, like Arsh said, it's more applied as to theory. So this means that we get to work with our hands more. It's more practical use. So, like for example, just in my first year, I got to actually work with my hands. So I got to install rivets that you see on aircraft. I got to mock test fuel systems, and that's just my first year. So it's definitely a lot more practical. And as compared to Arch's major, which is more theory based, they probably won't get to work with their hands as much compared to just normal aeronautical engineering. That's part of the actual engineering college. That's gonna be a little different. And Polytechnic, it's a little more unique, and I just chose to do Polytechnic. Like Arsh said, if you're trying to get into one of the theory-based and you're not able to get into it, then going to the Polytechnic College would definitely be like a good backdrop because it's still very helpful, and you'll have a lot of experience when you graduate with your bachelor's, master's. You'll have a lot of hands-on experience, which will give you a lot of opportunities and let you get a good internships while you're still attending Purdue as well.
All right, it looks like Yuvraj just finished because his speaker's muted. So thank you for that, Yuvraj. Moving on to the next slide. So, so again, continuing on from that, what is the major benefit of these programs? So one of the major benefits is that we actually have a very good co-op program in our Polytechnic Institute. So we have strong partnerships with companies like Rolls-Royce, Boeing, GM, and those are some of the big engineering programs companies. So obviously there's a lot more, and we even have connections with tech companies too. So the Polytechnic School of Engineering, the Polytechnic School graduates over 2,000 students per year, and over 95% are employed or continuing education within 6 months. So that's a good sign. And kind of the benefit is that we have small class sizes and hands-on labs. So in this active learning means that these people have practical skills. So for computer science, it's a science, it's more theory, right? But as a software engineer, you have more applied practical skills. So computer science won't necessarily give you all the skills to be a software engineer, but it'll provide a good base. So you still need to get a job, obviously, to become a software engineer. And one of the benefits is that the location at the Purdue airport provides a lot of opportunities for people who are trying to do, be in aerospace engineering or anything really related to aeronautical engineering and stuff like that. Moving on. So money. I know money is very important for you guys. So in terms of education, I think Purdue's education is a good bang for your buck. It's public school, but tuition has been frozen for many years, and that means that the education is relatively cheap. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but compared to other schools that you can go to, it's cheaper, and you're getting a great education. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but these values are actually outdated. So right now it's actually much higher. Another thing is that for some of these programs like the engineering one, a lot of our engineers tend to work in the Midwest, and that doesn't mean we don't have connections in the Northeast and West, but the reason for that is because a lot of our students are from Indiana, and they want to continue working in the Midwest. But if you take into account cost of living and where people work, you can make a lot of a very high salary. So I think the graph on the right is for computer science. So you guys can see in the Northeast that the median is about 107,000, but right now it's probably more like 140,000 because of the cost of living increases. So, and if you're working in New York, actually, that would probably be a little bit higher than 140,000 starting as a CS grad. And you can see in the West, it's a little bit more. So a Purdue CS degree is very, very useful. And looking across to all these other engineering degrees, you can see that the salaries are around 70,000. Now I say it's about 85,000. What is the average class? What's the class size in CS? So I think we have about 800 people in CS per year, which leads to 3,200 total CS majors undergraduate. And computer science is actually the biggest major at Purdue. I think in terms of class sizes, in the beginning, it's very, very big. Suffice to say, it's about 200 students per class. That's actually quite normal in most CS programs. So if you're talking about, say, Michigan, University of Madison, UT Austin, Berkeley, UCLA, computer science is a very, very popular major, and a lot of kids are doing it. But the thing is now that Purdue actually has stopped transfers internally for computer science, so the only way to be a CS student is essentially to get in, and to transfer would be really hard, which means that our CS class size is normalized now. It's not going to grow too big, and that's good for people to be able to talk with their TAs, talk with their professors, stuff like that. So back to the salaries for the engineering graduates. So they hover around 70,000, but when you consider things like where you live, the Northeast, and how much it costs to live now, New York with that, if you lived in New York, probably with those degrees, it probably gets you maybe 100,000 starting salary. So another reason why the Purdue undergraduate degree is so useful. So how did I take advantage of what Purdue has to offer? So I joined a cultural club that I'm really passionate about. So that was the Sixth Student Association. And I also joined academic clubs like the ACM. So that's for the Association of Computing Machinery, and the SIG AI branch under that. So I was also able to take up sports. So I joined the intramural soccer club. I wasn't very good, but I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends. And most importantly, I worked on a project with the Merck, which is a number 71 on the Fortune 500, which means in the world, it's 71st biggest company. And I was an SW intern there, and I worked on very important projects. So we worked with AWS, Fuzzy Search, Neo4j databases, SQL, relational database design. Oh, I think somebody asked, what activities did you do in high school that were tech related? So my school, a lot of the kids there, their parents were software engineers. So there was a huge push for computer science in our school. So I took a data structures class. I took a Android development class. I took obviously all the AP computer science classes. Besides that, I started High School Navigator. I interned at a tech company, but it wasn't a very big tech company. So I just kind of sent out a bunch of resumes to do that. And I gained a lot of knowledge. So I learned about SQL, relational database design, programming in C#, which is very important in the finance industry, and Python, which is a really, really, really important language. Emphasis on the really, really important. And also moving on to the environment at Purdue. So I thought the environment at Purdue was really collaborative. So I would regularly go to office hours, and the teams there were really helpful. And this led me to actually earn a 4.0 with my first year and my summer. So that's over 110 credits all in all, because I came in with a lot of credits from AP classes. And besides that, I think Raj can also speak about what he did at Purdue.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about just that Purdue has so many clubs to offer. There's probably over hundreds of clubs that most people don't even know that these clubs exist. These clubs they can even pertain to your major, so you can learn more about computer science. You can be more prepared for the internship, or they can just be, activity clubs that you just want to do on the side as, form of enjoyment. So Purdue hosts this club fair that it takes place in one of the fields, and basically there you're gonna see, I would say, over 100 just little stands, and they're all clubs. The leaders of the clubs that are there, and there's hundreds of people that will attend this club fair, and you can learn about all the different clubs. There's CS clubs, all the way to tree climbing, to building remote control cars, and I think that's going to be really helpful. It occurs at the beginning of the year, so if you guys want to, really learn more about the clubs that Purdue has to offer, I would really recommend to go to that. And I'm not sure about other majors, but for AET, we have this Aviation Technology Career Fair, and this is very helpful to students. So students that are interested in jobs and internships are allowed to interact with multiple companies and discuss opportunities. So companies like Boeing, manufacturing companies, companies that are related to your major, they come to Purdue and they seek out students who are looking for internships or looking for jobs, and you hand them your resume, and you're able to talk one-on-one with this person and ask them all the information you need to know about the internship, about the job that you're seeking, about advice, about what they recommend. So I think that's really helpful. It's called a career fair, and if you guys attend Purdue, I would recommend you guys go to that.
Thank you, Raj, for speaking about all of that. And I also forgot to mention one thing. Along with the placement, with like the salaries and the things like that, I also forgot to mention like what companies do we actually work for when we graduate. So for the Purdue CS undergraduate, there was actually a list of the top employers by size. So at the top there was Amazon, AWS, Bloomberg, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, companies like those. Essentially, were the biggest ones because they're the biggest tech companies. But it doesn't mean that you can only work in tech. So for me, I'm working in finance, technology, and that is also a very lucrative career. How helpful are professors at Purdue? That's a good question. So I think compared to my high school teachers, the professors at Purdue were very good at teaching. So the exams they gave were never like impossible. That was the main thing. They were never impossible. They were always very doable if you studied. And I think you could always talk to them because they were very nice. So I know some of you might have had mean teachers in high school, but that doesn't work in college. So in college, your professors have to be nice, and if they're not, you email your dean and they get a call, and then that issue gets resolved. But I think like who will you be really learning from? Not just your professors, but really it's your TA. So for me, when I was in my discrete math class, which is important for CS graduates, I mean CS students, obviously my professors were very good, but the main way I learned was going to office hours and meeting with my TA. So I met some very smart people there, some very brilliant people, and I made connections and I talked to them, and I actually got advice on how to, go through my Purdue CS career. And from there, I was able to learn a lot. So my advice when you go to college is go to office hours. It's really important. Okay, moving on.
I would say also just the TAs.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you. But we also have room for questions because it's only been 46 minutes. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them.
Yeah, I was also just going to say that the TAs are they're not like some people that have a lot of experience. The TAs can just be graduate students. So people just like you, just like 3-4 years down the future. And obviously they have a lot more experience than you. But I mean, they're still students, they're still learning. But yeah, the TAs are very helpful. And in office hours, if you're struggling on homework, they will help you. If you're struggling on anything, the TAs will be really helpful. Even your professors, you're only one email away, and professors usually respond very fast. And especially if you're in a close-knit classroom. So, for example, my major, we're in very close-knit classrooms. Only like 20 to 30 people maximum in a class. Those professors are very helpful because you can just go up to them and ask them anything you want, ask them about advice. However, when there's 200, 300 people, the professor can get overwhelmed, and that's when the TAs can be really helpful. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions for Arsh or me, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Raj. Oh, how good is housing? Is it expensive? So that is also a very important issue with Purdue. So we have a lot of students coming in, and we don't have that much. I mean, we have essentially enough housing. There is no extra housing. But if you're an undergraduate coming in, there are ways to get good housing. So if you apply for certain programs like the data mine or research, you can get into these very nice halls called Hillenbrand Hall, which is what I was in, and Frida Parker, which is the newest hall on campus, and very, very, very nice. But essentially, to get good housing after that, if you're not trying to live in a dorm, essentially you have to do what you would have to do is apply very early. So speaking from experience with my brother who also went to college at Michigan, it's not expensive as schools like Michigan, NYU, and those places because people there tend to be a little bit richer. But it is around $800, not 800, maybe $700 if you were living with roommates. But with the lowered cost situation, that's still a great deal. So for your question, if it's expensive, by Midwestern standards, yes, it's expensive. But by standards of being in the Northeast and California, definitely not.
Also, if you want, you can apply for honors college, and I'm pretty sure that gives you one of the better dorms, but I'm not sure. But overall, the dorms that I've been to, they've been very nice, very spacious. So yeah. Arch, there's a question for you. It says, by any chance, do you know the approximate acceptance rate for Purdue computer science? Arsh?
So somebody asked what the acceptance rate for Purdue CS was. So suffice to say, it's pretty low. And it's kind of hard to get in. But I would not say it's as insanely hard as, say, like MIT, CMU, or Berkeley, or GT or UT Austin. I'd say if you're out of state, like me, it'd probably be around 10%. But if you're in state, it's definitely a lot higher, which is why the acceptance rate tends to fluctuate a lot. It's not necessarily as low as its private school peers. So out of state, definitely very low. In state though, depending on what environment you grew up in, it shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, suffice to say, success rate is very low. Any other questions? Can be about CS or anything because we have a lot of experience.
Yeah, so to get in a major like CS, I want to say it's hard because I feel like that's not the right mindset. It's just competitive to get into a major like computer science. There's thousands of other students. Since computer science is such a well-known program here at Purdue University, it will be competitive to get in. So just there's no harm in applying at the end of the day. And Purdue has one of the best computer science programs.
I see. Somebody said, what do you think is the best thing to write about in your Common App essay to get into an applied major or CS? Wow, that's a very hard question. I haven't written an essay in like my Common App in like a very, very long time. But essentially, it's you to be genuine. I know a lot of people write about computer science, but I think it's kind of a little bit bland. I mean, you can fall into the trap of having writing about CS being very bland. So I think write about something like interesting, unique, something like unorthodox. So hopefully, if you can pull it off, it'd be a really great essay. So something like unorthodox that you wouldn't expect to be kind of like a quirky feel. But I don't really know. I haven't written my essay. I wrote my essay like a very, very long time ago. And by that was like a year ago. But besides that, I think for CS, it doesn't really matter to an extent what school you go to, as long as you put in the effort to learn. Because I feel like I know a lot of kids that went to Princeton, MIT, Berkeley, and stuff like that. And I think the biggest predicate of success is like you're passionate about what you're doing. So for us, it's CS, right? But when I see the most successful CS kids, what they had was that they didn't go to the fanciest schools, but they really liked CS a lot and they put a lot of effort into it. So they had a lot of these projects and they learned a lot. And aside from that, for like general college knowledge, when you go to college, I think you guys should join clubs because finding friends and making connections is really, really important. I think your success in the industry is based on two things: your knowledge and your connections. So my opinion is to join a club that you're interested in. So for me, that was SSA, and I made a lot of good friends, people that I really enjoy being around. Like they make me really happy. And you right here, I actually met him in SSA, and he's a good friend of mine. And the other thing is join a club that is related to your major or related to your field. So for me, it was the ACM. And the benefit of that I get to know people who are very smart, who work in the same industry as me. So one of the very important things is to get a job is to know somebody. So you call up somebody, say, can you get me an interview? They'll say, yeah. And from there, it makes the process a lot easier to get a job. So for any of you guys, clubs you could probably join as a CS major, you could join the ACM, which is the Association of Computer and Machinery. And generally, you also join SAES, which is the Society of Asian Students, Scientists and Engineers. Obviously, looking at your names, most of you are Asian, so that's why I assumed that. But if you're not, then also other cultural clubs that are related to being a scientist or being an engineer and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you don't need to like overwhelm yourself with clubs. There's gonna be so many clubs. It's not like you have to join 5 different clubs. Just join one club that you feel like, hey, I'm passionate about this, it relates to my major, it will help me in the future, and then just join one or two other clubs that, something that you enjoy doing. And also about the essay, I do remember writing my essay, and honestly, just you could write your essay about anything. Just make sure it's unique. I had the essay doesn't need to be about anything crazy. Just it could be literally about anything. Just make sure it's well written, it's unique, and it truly displays your true personality and shows who you are. Would data science be an applied major? Is it harder to get into applied majors? I think Arsh can answer that.
So somebody asked, would data science be an applied major, and is it hard to get into applied majors? So applied majors, it's not really the code word that they use, but essentially it's like, if I say applied, I mean less theory. So you're actually going to be hands-on using technology. So data science is not really an applied major. It's also a focus on theory. So you have to take math, data structures. Basically, it's computer science, but more of a focus on statistics and analysis. And the reason it's so big right now is because with how things are going, there's more data in the world. So being able to use statistics is now actually very important. That's kind of why data science is being pushed so hard right now. And as to whether it's hard to get into applied major, compared to CS, no, definitely not. CS is probably the hardest program to get into at Purdue, but applied major is, the benefit of it is that it's like very useful. As soon as you graduate, almost immediately you'll have a job because you actually have real world skills.
Yeah, speaking from my major, I would actually say it's easier to get into applied majors. By easier, I mean the competitiveness. You have less competition. So your SAT scores, your GPA, they don't have to be as strong as they do have to be for theory-based majors like computer science, data science, computer engineering. So yeah, but that's my personal experience with applied majors as compared to theory-based majors.
Okay, so some other tidbits of advice for people who are coming into college. So another thing is like to surround yourself with people that you enjoy being around and people who will make you better, right? I know it sounds like very obvious, right? But surrounding yourself with people who make you happy will also affect your education. So that happens, it'll be easier to study because your life is not only studying; it's also to have a life, really, like enjoy yourself. So two parts is essentially to have balance and to have fun. And the part about surrounding yourself with people, aside from having fun, it also allows you to like build your network, right? And I think for many of us, right, we surround ourselves with certain people, they inadvertently help us become better because they also push themselves, right? Which leads us to push ourselves. That's another tidbit of advice I have. So surround yourself with smart, capable people who are also, genuinely kind to you. And another thing is to make sure to sleep. So I know it's an understatement, but being in a dorm, a lot of people did not go to sleep on time, and it was very bad because they'd be waking up late with dandruff in their hair, going to lectures late, and it would be bad, essentially. So the truth is, when you sleep, life gets a lot easier. And another important thing is never, ever, ever miss your lectures. So you can learn a lot of useful information, and sometimes there are little tidbits of information that are hidden within a lecture that are going to be asked in a test. So that's also one thing. And I think studying habits, very, very important that you guys develop those before you come into college. So what I noticed is that certain students maybe did not go to the most competitive high school, which meant that they didn't have the best study habits. So my advice is to start early. So for all of your homeworks, do them and start them as soon as they come out, right? And when you have exams, start studying 2 weeks before the exam date because you also have school, right? And maybe study 2 or 3 hours a day. And by the time the exam rolls in, you'll be a lot better off. Because the truth is that some of your peers might not study as hard, right? And in college, a lot of things are curved. That's the word. So if you study and they don't, it's going to be good for you because you'll be able to do really well and have a great GPA on your resume, and that'll be good for jobs. That's another tidbit of advice I have.
And I also want to input that just during your first year, just make sure, you know, you're in college now. It's a new experience. Some people have the tendency they start to slack off. You know, they're in college. They start to skip their classes because obviously no punishment for that. However, when you skip a lecture, you know, you're not fully paying for what you got. You know, so like Arshad, I would recommend that you don't skip any lectures. You know, I know it's hard. It will be hard getting up early, but just make sure you go to lectures. And the first year, you know, make sure to really focus because let's say if you get a bad GPA the first year, that's gonna kind of carry on through the rest of your college career. So just make sure that you do good, make sure you study hard, and make sure you have fun as well. So make sure you find a good balance.
All right, guys. So I think I've spoken about everything that I possibly could have spoken about. So if you guys have any other questions, put them in the chat. Or if there's no more questions, we'll stop at 3:25. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about one thing actually. Career fairs. So career fairs are very, very, very important. So when you guys drive to campus or fly to campus, make sure you guys pick up a suit if you're a guy, or like a dress if you're a girl, right? And the importance is that you just go out there, you say your spiel for like a minute, right? And you talk to these recruiters, and with that, it's a lot easier to get a job. So Purdue has like very, very big companies coming to its events. So any company you can think of, it's going to be there. And you guys need to be prepared because the lines are going to be very long. So my piece of advice is go there early, be well dressed, have a good resume. And for your resume, there's actually a resume review center at Purdue, which is good. But if some of you have older siblings, go to them because they have actual experience. Or maybe your parents, or maybe not, if your parents haven't applied for a job in a long time. But that's very important to those three things: be well dressed, come early, and have a good resume. And the fourth thing is have a good spiel, which is your elevator talk for 60 seconds where you market yourself. And remember, always go to these events. Even if you don't think you're gonna get a job, just go. Because I know a lot of my freshman friends, the hiring market for CS majors was really bad this year. So it was very hard to get an internship, but a lot of us did manage to get jobs. For me, I got a job as a quantitative developer, which is a very cushy position in finance. So you guys should go to your, career fairs.
Yeah, the career fairs are very, very beneficial because, I mean, these aren't just some small companies, you know, these are the best of the best. So, like for aviation, you have companies you have airlines like United Airlines, Delta Airlines, you know, recruiters from these huge companies, you know, the opportunity there that you get to be in person with them, to hand them your resume, to give them your 60-second talk, you know, I think it's one of the best. It's a very good opportunity.
All right, so I know somebody talk about professors. So to add on to that, actually, my advice would be to go out and just talk to them. So in computer science, our professors, what they do is that they have like essentially like weekly days where they would go out for lunch, right, at the dining halls, and students could go up and talk to them and kind of become their connections, network with them. And also, another important thing is join clubs. So what I mean by that is that each of these clubs actually have a advisor on Purdue, on the side of Purdue. So that could be a professor or somebody who works for Purdue, essentially. So for SSA, our advisor is actually the head of the Purdue CS department. So that's really beneficial for me and whoever is in CS in our club. What is the workload like in CS? That's a good question. So I'd say as a freshman, you only really need to take actually it depends. It depends. For me, I came with a lot of AP credits, so for me, I only had to take the CS classes and that was it, bare minimum, right? And for me, I didn't think that Purdue CS was like super hard. Actually, I thought it was a little bit reasonable. Reasonable is the right word. It wasn't easy, but it was reasonable. So for me, you're not going to be working like 40-hour work weeks, right? It won't be as exhausting as, say, if you went to a very competitive high school. It'll probably be less exhausting, actually, than that. But maybe outside of school, 20 hours, 15 hours of studying or doing work. And when you have exams, it's probably going to be a lot more. So that'll probably be 3 hours a day for maybe a week and a half, right? Which should come out to 30 hours extra because you have to study too. But that's quite reasonable, actually. Like they won't be trying to, kill you with the workload. It's very reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, Arch tells me sometimes, he said that he feels that the workload in CS is kind of comparable or even a little bit easier than what he had in high school. So I think that really shows, the truth of it. But you are going to have work. You are going to have to complete that work. Just make sure you do it beforehand. Don't try to put it off till last minute because even one question can sometimes take a long time to answer. So yeah.
All right, guys. If you guys don't have any other questions, we'll just stay here till 3:30, right? And then at that moment, we'll stop the presentation and then we'll end the session. But thank you guys all for coming. And you guys have any more questions, put it in the chat and I'll answer them. Me and you, Robert, will answer them.
Just some ending notes. At the end of the day, college is gonna be a really big change for everyone. I mean, it is for everyone. You're far from home. You're kind of your own person now. You're on your own. But you always got to remember to just enjoy your time there. At the end of the day, a lot of people get so caught up in studying and doing their work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that you do need some free time to just relax. But Purdue offers a wide variety of majors, and it has really good majors like, for example, computer science, aero engineering, and we hope to see you guys there.
Oh, I see. One last question. So what extracurriculars did I do during high school that helped you get into Purdue University? So besides being an academic, I was also an athlete. So I was in varsity track and field, varsity cross country, and I was also in soccer, but I didn't get to varsity level. I just stopped after my sophomore year. So I was junior varsity for that. Besides that, I started this, which is High School Navigator, and I was doing this as my main thing. And besides that, I did a lot of volunteering, and I had a bunch of jobs. That's what was very important. That's why my computer science knowledge is so new, is that I was doing work even while I was in high school because I really enjoyed computer science. Oh, and it seems like it's 3:30. So thank you guys all for coming. I was really pleased to give you this presentation, and I really enjoyed all of you guys coming today. So thank you all.